When my wife gave me the trip, I said, "God, she really loves me," because I love things like that, because they show me, they broaden my definitions of who I am, because there's so much more that all of us can do than we give ourselves credit for. So I was off on this trip, went for the experience. I was an agnostic, probably an atheist, and then I had an experience of God in the wilderness that I couldn't explain any other way than to say, ultimately say, it was God, and I didn't want it.
Could you describe your first experience of God that changed you from being an agnostic or atheist
Yes.
into a believer or theist?
Yes. And I know how this is going to sound as a former agnostic, but I was standing in the middle of a frozen lake, and it was about 25 below, and I was picking up a woman's backpack who had dropped it. She just couldn't carry it any further, and I was completely by myself. And, excuse me, I didn't want to go back yet to the camp because it was just gorgeous. It was sublime. Blisteringly cold, but just amazing.
Now this is in northern Minnesota.
Northern Minnesota.
How many people were on this trip?
There were 12 of us, as I recall, plus
Yeah.
2 instructors. And I was standing there, just kind of looking up at the sky with my arms out like this and the ski poles dangling from my wrist, and suddenly I had this incredible sense of being bathed in warm, well, water was what I came up with, but it certainly wasn't water. And ultimately it went away, and I looked at my feet to see if there was melt water at my feet, but there wasn't. And I said, "Oh, please, don't let it be God." I didn't want it to be God, but, you know, it just proves God's got an amazing sense of humor.
Yeah. Well, there's this minister, he's deceased now, he called it the spiritual 2x4.
Yeah. And I've used that, I've never heard that from Mike Matoy, but I've used that analogy many times, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I wrestled with that for about a year, and then didn't know what to do with it, but I felt the impulse to go into ministry, and I don't know why. Well, I do now, but...
when you say ministry, did you actually go to school, a seminary?
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you an ordained?
I'm not yet ordained.
When
I've done everything I need to be ordained, but have not done
and
that
what
final step.
faith?
It's the United Church of Christ. But the trips, just so you know, and you may have had this on your list of questions to ask me anyhow, but the trips are interfaith, no faith. They are open to virtually anybody who will respect other people's spiritual trip as well. And that's a key requirement for me. And they must sign a covenant to say they will not proselytize, that they will honor where people are in their own faith journey.
Have you ever read the book by Abraham Maslow on religious experiences, peak experiences, transcendent experience? Because that's what you described to me, is that you had like a peak, a transcendental or religious experience.
Very much.
Yeah, and Maslow came to when Maslow was doing research, he thought most people didn't have religious or peak experiences, but through his research he discovered he was wrong. He said most people had religious or peak experience, they needed to be asked the right questions. And it's a wonderful book, and it's that, like, after you have a peak experience, it just raises the level of our ordinary everyday experiences.
Very much so. Yeah. I will look up the book. Thank you.
Yeah. So why do you call what you're doing religious or spiritual work? I mean, you're a minister, or training to be one, and nature. Where do the two overlap?
Well, I define these trips as spiritual rather than as religious. I think when you say the word religious, it automatically sets up boundaries or expectations, but if I can call it spiritual, I think it's open to virtually anybody. And this is really important to me, Jay, because I come from an agnostic and probably an atheist background.
Were your parents agnostic or atheist, or you just...
No, well, I honestly don't know what they believed, and I hate to say that. They were churchgoers, they were involved with the church, but I do not know to this day what they believed.
Are they still alive?
No, they've both been dead at least 10 years. Excuse me. So, I've forgotten where we were.
You were explaining how your work is more spiritual than religious.
Yeah. So it's important for me because what I had, I think, was a spiritual experience, not a religious experience. Somebody named Richard Rohr once said that religion should be the finger that we point to the heavens with awe and wonder, and religion should not be the heavens itself. And I like that definition a lot. I think it puts religion in its place, its proper place. I mean, it's a very important thing.
Does that get you in trouble with your teachers?
No, not at all. And I've been out of seminary for 8 years. So, and they knew exactly what I was talking about when I was in seminary. And they supported it.
And why did you choose the particular religion that you did? You know, why not like Church of Religious Scientists or something else?
Well, I have not heard of that denomination, that religion. I chose the United Church of Christ because it has a reputation for being Christ-centered, but understanding there are many other ways to worship God, and that Christianity is not the only way. And they're quite understanding of that, and they promote that. And interfaith understanding and
do you ever have clergy go on your trips?
Often, yeah, yeah. I've never had a rabbi, but I've had many Christian clergy. I've never had a mullah. I would like to have a mullah.
Muslims?
No, never had a Muslim. But many Jews, many Christians, Buddhists, agnostics.
And how about people of different ethnicities, like African Americans, Mexican Americans, Indian Americans?
Had African Americans, Asian Americans, never a Hispanic or Latino, and never Eastern Indian to date. But I'd love that.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have like prayer time or quiet time during your trips?
We do. Because we live where we live, we are so bound up in schedules and tightly, you know what I'm talking about, and I think the viewers will know what I'm talking about. And so the idea is to leave plenty of free time where it's not scheduled, so that the green and juicy stuff can happen. But in the mornings we have guided meditation, so that when people go back into their daily lives, they have something to use to focus on the present, which is when God, or something bigger than we are, will come to us.
And how long is your guided meditation, and what is the process that you guide them into meditation?
It's quite Buddhist, actually, and we focus. We start out with breathing exercises and focus on the breathing. Then if it's a multi-day trip, like a 7 or 8 day trip, we go deeper, and we use different sensory perceptions. But a lot of it is just focused on keeping our eyes closed and feeling the breezes and listening to the birds, but focusing intently on the present. And they all focus on being very intentional about being in the present. And then I'll ask a question of the day that I'll ask them to think about, and we'll talk about it at night or at lunch. And then on Sunday, if it's on Sunday, we'll have a non-denominational Christian worship service if there are Jews, and we'll have a Friday or Saturday Jewish service as well. So that's what we do for worship, and then the conversations are just glorious, and they go places that I never expect. And
what does the number of people on these trips range from?
Well, they've ranged from 3 to 25. It averages about 8 or 9, and that's a nice size.